Wisteria, energy, twister.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Encyclopedia of Fairies. We're still on the bees, and please bear in mind, I'm not very good at pronouncing any Scottish words, and I'm definitely not good with Gaelic words or anything like that, so I'll just do my best, the best that I can do. Brachan Sear, a Scottish man by the name of Coinich O'Dare, more often known as the Brachan Sear, who may have lived in the 16th or 17th century. He was reputed to have made a variety of prophecies before running afoul of a countess who had him killed by being tarred and feathered. He made his prophecies by looking through a special hull stone, and by some accounts this stone was given to him by the good people after he slept on the fairy hill. Interesting story. A stone with a hole is generally called a hagstone, and witches do generally use them for various things. The break sheath, a malady described by Campbell in the Gaelic Otherworld. The author there says it means elfin pox, although a closer literal translation might be fairy spots. It is a non-specific illness signified by the silent appearance of hives or similar marks on the skin, which disappear again, although they may also be associated with whooping cough or other dangerous illnesses, but were believed to be brought on by the fair folk, by the fairies. Next is Bridget Cleary. One of the most famous changeling accounts in Ireland was that of Bridget Cleary. The events around Bridget's life and death occurred in the late 1890s in Tipperary, Ireland, and are considered the prime example of a case of a human murdered by relatives due to changeling beliefs. Later folklore would also cast Bridget as potentially a witch, and a rhyme from Ireland based on the supposed words of her family, as they questioned her goes: "Are you a witch? Are you a fairy? Or are you the wife of Michael Clary?" Bridget lived with her husband Michael in Ballivadlia in Coe Tipperary, and made extra money by selling eggs to the neighbours. As she was coming home one day, she fell ill, and her illness grew more serious. Her husband eventually summoned a doctor. The doctor, Dr. Crean, arrived and diagnosed Bridget with what he described as nervous excitement and slight bronchitis. He left her with medicine, believing that her life was in no danger. Later accounts would state that Michael Clary didn't give Bridget the doctor's medicine, instead getting hers from a local fairy doctor because he believed that Bridget had been replaced by a changeling. Bridget was made to undergo several days of cures, which included being forced to drink these remedies, having liquids thrown on her, and being repeatedly questioned about her true nature, sometimes at the point of a hot brand from the fire. On the third day after the doctor's visit, Michael, along with several other relatives of Bridget, questioned her again, and this time she was too weak to answer properly. Michael was now convinced she was a fairy, and doused her in lamp oil before setting her on fire. That's 1901 McCarthy. After Bridget's death, Michael and another man buried her, but the crime was eventually discovered. All of the people involved were put on trial, and it was discovered that Michael had been going to the local fairy hill, waiting for his wife to emerge on a white horse. Michael was convicted and given a 20-year sentence for his wife's death. What's interesting about that is he actually did believe she were a fairy, so he thought he had murdered her and that she would return from fairyland upon a white horse once he'd actually murdered her, because he believed he was murdering a changeling and not his wife. And I know that sounds really bizarre, but back then it's not the most bizarre thing to think that. or to assume that that's happened, because it was a well-known thing back then, and it would not have been shunned upon or anything. But I really should have listened to the doctor first before I started doing all that stuff, let's be honest. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fair Folk. Please hit the like, share if you can, and also do consider subscribing because it really helps the channel. Many blessings.
Wisteria, energy, twister.